Good evening, Carl Springs, and thank you for joining us here on our Facebook Live question and answer. The last few weeks have been exceptionally challenging, not just for our community, but also for our state and our nation. On behalf of the City of Carl Springs, we want to thank all of our frontline workers in the hospitals, our first responders, and all of our essential workers that continue to provide services to our community every day. We thank you for your strength, your kindness, and your bravery. I have the pleasure of being joined here today by Commissioner Larry Vignola and also with Dr. Peter Antevi, our city's medical director, who will be willing to answer any questions you have. Throughout the course of this Facebook Live, please feel free to comment any questions or comments that you have on the updates we're about to provide you. Before we begin, I'd like to provide just a brief overview of some updates on the CDC's guidelines. The CDC came out and they provided guidelines that they request everybody to wear a face mask or other protective covering to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. While this is a request by the CDC, I personally am taking it as a requirement. I believe it's my personal responsibility to prevent the spread of this virus. That's why when you see me walking around the community, I'll be wearing a surgical mask or another face covering to do my part to prevent the spread of this disease. This is not just going to prevent the spread in your community. It's also going to protect our crucial first responders. It's going to protect our hospital workers and all of those, our firefighters and our police officers that you require and you rely upon to come help you in your time of need. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Vignola to provide our city with a few updates.
Thanks, Alex. I really appreciate that recommendation about the mask, and I want to echo it. I'm sure many of you are aware, and for those who don't know, Broward and Palm Beach both lost deputies from COVID-19 this weekend. Deputy Shannon Bennett, who was a 12-year veteran of the Broward Sheriff's Office, passed away this weekend from COVID-19. He became ill while on duty a little over a week ago, and he was only 39 years old. Palm Beach Sergeant Jose Diaz Ayala, who was only 38 and worked at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office for 14 years, unfortunately lost his battle with COVID-19 on Saturday. The loss of these first responders is just a sad reminder of how dangerous this virus is, regardless of age. Staying home is life-saving, especially for those who are protecting our community and caring for the sick. We need everyone to do their part to help mitigate the spread of COVID-19 and follow all CDC recommendations. Wash your hands frequently and do not touch your face. Don't leave your house without a mask. If you do leave your house, try to keep at least 6 feet distance from all persons outside of your household. But most importantly, please just stay home to
Good afternoon, Carl Springs, and welcome back. We apologize for our technical difficulties, which knocked us off air on the first segment. We're going to pick back up and provide a couple of updates on city services before we get into the question and answer portion of this Facebook Live. First, I'd like to say that effective immediately, the one-stop shop in City Hall is going to be closed to the public. Code compliance, business tax, zoning inquiries, and landlord registrations can still be completed online through our electronic e-Trackit system. You can also feel free to visit our website, carlsprings.org, for all of those details. In addition, most code cases that were scheduled for March, April, or May have been scheduled for later this year. Residents who have questions concerning code violations can email code@carlsprings.org, or they can call 954-344-5964. All information about city business is available on our website, www.carlsprings.org. Before I move on, Commissioner Vignola, do you have any city updates that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I have a few city updates. One, we issued new protocols for the waste transfer stations. Hazardous household waste collection is suspended until further notice. Residents can still drop off non-hazardous items during weekend hours, but now are required to wear a mask for entry into the waste transfer station. Also, excessive garbage is causing delays with solid waste collection by WastePro. So please be patient. If the trash collection in your community was missed, leave your trash out for collection the next morning.
Thank you. Very important updates there, Commissioner. And if you didn't get a chance to tune into Nightline last night, Dr. Antevi provided an overview of some of our new antibody testing kits that became available. Dr. Antevi, would you mind giving us an overview of those antibody test kits?
Sure. Thanks, Alex, and thanks, Commissioner Vigola, for joining us today. Hi, Coral Springs, and Parkland. I will tell you that we've done a great job just looking at the numbers in general of our the number of cases that we're seeing, or even people who are suspected to have cases. It's flattening. So I wanted to thank everybody for what you're doing, staying home and doing what the commissioner has asked us to do earlier in his opening remarks. With respect to the antibody test, this is a test that's a screening tool. Essentially, it's like a finger prick blood test where you actually take a drop of blood, you put it into the cartridge, and it can easily tell us whether someone actually has the COVID antibody. Is your body making the antibody towards COVID? And the reason we're doing this is because we're trying to protect not just our police department, but our fire and EMS personnel who are responding to the calls at your homes. We want to keep them safe, and the way to do that is to have a rapid test. Now, the test is not a panacea, like I said yesterday. It's simply a screening tool to take us from being blind to actually being able to see something in front of us. And so we're using it very judiciously. We're doing a data project behind it so that every single test that's done, we're asking a series of 25 questions or so to find out exactly are these working, and then we can revise protocols and move along.
Thank you, Doctor. Are you still with us?
I think I'm frozen here.
Looks like you got frozen there.
Okay.
Looks like you got frozen.
Yeah.
COVID continues to change the way we do business here in the city of Coral Springs, and technology has been extremely helpful with us, but as we see, sometimes we have some minor glitches. I appreciate the answer to that, Dr. Antevi. And another quick question that we keep hearing, and we hear contradictory answers to this. Do you believe that COVID-19 will be gone by this summer? And what information can you provide to our residents about the predicted timeline of this event?
That's a great question. And remember, this is a moving target, but I have the data to you. It's predicted that the peak of the disease burden and the deaths in Florida, we're about 15 days away from that. So that's going to be on April 21st, is projected. Remember, that's a little bit further away than what you would see in New York, where their peak is about 5 or 6 days from now, maybe even fewer days than that. So just because the peak is in 15 days, and 15 days from now, that doesn't have a summer that's going to be free of illness. If you look at the number of resources that are going to be needed, the number of people that are going to be getting sick, by June, the projection is that goes down. But here's the caveat to that. Just like we're seeing in China and all the places who got this before us, once people start getting out of their homes again, however that's going to happen, getting back to work, the kids start going back to school, God willing, we're going to see another spike of this. And so it's predicted that there'll be another second wave of this. And so I would like to say that by summertime it's going to go away, but it's not. The heat, in the past, we know that from the SARS, which was the coronavirus as well, when it hit places like Egypt and Iraq in the 110-degree weather, it was still infecting people. So don't bank on the fact that the Florida heat is gonna kill anything, even though sometimes it feels like it's hard to bear. This virus can withstand that heat, and again, there'll be a dip and there'll be another spike. So I would ask that let's keep following along on these weekly webinars. We'll keep giving you the updates as it goes along, but I wouldn't expect this to just magically go away by summertime.
Thank you for that. So what you're telling me is I should not be planning a vacation for the beginning of May right now. That's what you're saying. Got it.
Beginning of May, no, but I'll tell you what. I mean, listen, I have 3 kids. They're asking my wife and I, are we going to be going to camp this summer? So, and you're probably hearing screaming in the background. It's not easy. So we all want this to end, but give science and data behind it. We'll be hopeful to ourselves.
We really appreciate that. And very important information. Another question that we keep hearing a lot is, if you've had COVID-19, can you be reinfected by COVID-19? And if you have recovered from COVID-19, should you continue to isolate and remain inside? And if you could give us a little bit of information about that, I think we'd really appreciate it.
I think it's a good question. There have been cases of people who get sick with COVID, and early on they start to feel better within the first week, 10 days, and then it comes rearing back on them. So I'd be cautious of that. There's kind of like what we call a bimodal peak, where they're not so good, they get better, and they think they're fine, and then it hits them, sometime after the, let's say, 8 to 10 day mark. That's different than full recovery and will I get this again? There have been apparently a few reported cases of that, but I would say for the most part, the way that most of us feel in the medical community is that if you've been exposed to COVID-19, to this strain that we have in our community, that your body has developed the antibodies to learn how to combat it if you get it for a second time, so that you wouldn't actually get sick a second time. But again, there are multiple strains running around the world. Just like when the flu virus starts, in Asia and it comes across, that strain may be different. And so what I will say is that if you're in this community and you get this COVID-19, there's a very low likelihood that you may get reinfected, but there have been case reports, potentially a different strain of the same virus, if that makes sense. And I think there was one more question in there, is if you've recovered, are you okay to go out and do your thing? Personally, I would say you should feel better about your situation. It's a situation that most people would like to be in. You may want to consider donating plasma, because people who have recovered are doing that. But you do have a much less likelihood of contracting the disease again, if at all. But I would still practice safe hygiene, just like Commissioner Vignola had mentioned earlier.
Thank you, Doctor. Excellent point. And I appreciate you bringing up the donation of plasma as well. I think that, we're starting to see more and more treatments coming out for this, and we all need to stay attuned to that, because a lot has been changing in a matter of hours and days as we learn more and more about this. Another question I want to ask you here, we've been covering testing sites and availability of testing kits. Can you maybe touch on some of the reasons why we have so few testing sites, and why we're hearing about testing sites closing down or running out of supplies? Can you give us just a little bit more knowledge as to why that might be the case?
Sure, Alex. As you can imagine, everybody wants to have the testing available to them. The testing requires what we call a test kit that has the swab and that little kind of liquid medium. It's a little test tube that once they put that in your nose, they put it into that medium. That is hard to get, unfortunately. So if you don't have that medium, that liquid, then you can't run the test. And so we've had a number of sites that have closed down because they cannot get those swabs, number one, or the liquid. There have been some labs who are just creating their own liquid because they just can't buy it from the right sources. And so I think that's a big issue with why those sites are not able to maintain. That's number one. The second thing is, when you take that swab and you're ready to put it into the machine, some machines take a long time, many hours to run. And so you're limited into how many tests you can run a day at a specific site. And so you can't just give a lab 1,000 samples and say, I'll take those by tomorrow, I'll have those results. It just doesn't work that way. There are now more and more tests coming out. You've heard of Abbott came out with a faster test. There's another test that we're now starting at Regional, where the tests are faster and therefore you can run more of them, but you still need those consumables to actually have the swab and the medium. And so there's going to be a backlog of the ability for us to get those devices, those test kits. And then depending on the lab that's being used for your particular situation, you may end up being stuck with a 24-hour wait time if you're lucky, but sometimes even 4 to 7 days, which is what we're seeing sometimes.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate the background information. Sometimes it's frustrating. We see test sites that aren't able to process a lot of people. And I don't think many of us, myself included, realize just how intricate this process is to complete. So I want to answer a couple of questions.
Okay, go ahead, Alex. Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I wanted to answer a couple of questions that we had coming in here. One of the questions is from Carol, and the question was if there is a number to call if there are large gatherings in neighborhoods, and she says that she still believes the city needs to ramp up its efforts to get the message out there in different languages. So a couple of points to that. First and foremost, if you see any behavior that you believe is violating the city's orders, you can call 954-344-1800. That's our city's police department non-emergency line. And if you call that number, you can report those behaviors that you think are against our orders. If you want to report businesses that maybe are not complying, or if you have any other issues with the community, that would be the number that you would reach out to. We ask that you save that only for instances in which you require help, not instances where you're just seeking general information. If you have general information inquiries about what the city's doing or questions about emergency orders, you can reach out to our city's call center. That number is 954-344-1001. I'd also like to provide some information about our business hotline. All of the members of our business community can reach out directly to city staff at 954-344-5772. That number provides our businesses with information about the emergency orders, about resources that might be available to them, and allows them to ask questions and get answers directly from city staff. Another number that is specific for our senior citizens is our city's senior VIP line. Senior citizens can call that number, 954-340-5001. And that allows our senior citizens to get information directly from the city. That's a recorded line that's updated daily. So I'd ask all of you watching here on Facebook, if you have a neighbor, a family member, or a friend that maybe doesn't use social media or isn't on the web, to use that number to stay connected with the city. We had a question here about ramping up its message information in different languages. Our senior line is available in both English and Spanish. And we do have flyers available in multiple languages. We also have staff members that speak different languages. So if you have somebody in your community that has difficulty speaking English, we do have members that speak Spanish and Creole, and we can also work to get messages out there in additional languages if there is a need. And finally, if you want to stay informed and you want to get up-to-date information from the city of Coral Springs, you can text the keyword Coral Springs, all one word, to the number 888-777. That will provide you with updates in text message form directly to your phone. I'd also like to note that closed captioning on Facebook will translate all of our messages to your native language. So if you don't speak English well, or you have somebody that's a friend or family member who would rather get this message in another language, closed captioning on Facebook enables you to get that message for them. So please feel free to share that information and help them to get this. With that, I'd also like to provide an update on the Broward Coronavirus Call Center. If people are concerned that they've been exposed to coronavirus, to COVID-19, or if they're experiencing signs and symptoms, they can contact 954-412-7300. And that will provide them with information about what to do if you're experiencing those signs and symptoms. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Vignola to provide us with any closing remarks or other comments that you'd like to make.
Thanks, Alex. Thank you, Dr. Antebi, for informing our residents and also for the incredible work you do helping protect us all. I know we're very fortunate to have you as part of our team. But there are so many people we want to thank during this crisis, including our teachers. I want to extend my gratitude to teachers and students that have been navigating and overcoming challenges with remote learning. Changes are never easy, and all our teachers and students have been doing an extraordinary job. There are no words to express our appreciation for all the teachers, and it's inspiring to see you face these challenges with such passion and positive attitudes. on behalf of the city of Coral Springs, thank you. I also want to thank you, Alex. You've done an amazing job for us, along with our entire staff. And I want to thank our police and firefighters and all our medical workers helping protect everyone in our community and putting themselves on the front line in this battle. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I especially appreciate you thanking our first responders, our police officers, our firefighters, our paramedics, and our nurses and doctors really out there on the front lines. It's humbling to see them selflessly help our community. So I also want to thank you, Dr. Antevi. We appreciate your time today on this question and answer. And with that, I'd like to just say, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay home. Thank you, Carl.